Welcome to another episode of Weekly Spark here in September. It is currently a cold, rainy, miserable day. So I am going to hole up in the studio and work on a couple different offerings for you. Hopefully, you will like what's going on today and you will subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and stay tuned for more content in December as I work with the motif of the wolf. This first one, this is not my artwork. This is the artwork of Wendy Pini. She is the mastermind of Elfquest. And so I'm going to do a little piece of fan art with full reference to her. Elfquest, the world of two moons, where the wolf riders live and ride wolves, has been a part of my inspirational life, my creative life, since almost its inception. I was about 12. And so I wanted to reference the world of two moons and their connection with wolves and the hunt, the howl, the living free, the connection to nature, and the wolf as connection to earth, but also wildness. So this page is going to be really simple since this is not my artwork, but I want to do an homage to the world of Elfquest. I'm actually going to put on some YouTube videos and watch some videos about the wolves of Yellowstone. So I will go ahead and leave you here to watch this page unfold. But go ahead and please subscribe and like and all those things. And I'd love to hear your comments about this. So future me will add in any information that you need. But for now, enjoy. So I'm starting with a watercolor wash with my trusty Daniel Smith watercolors. I think this is like a cerulean turquoise, but I have an off-brand ultramarine. I have Daniel Smith Mayan blue, undersea green, bloodstone, and a violet. So in no particular order, thinking about blues around the moon, some greens and browns at the bottom. I'm not sure at this point whether I'm going to trace the image and then just ink it in, or whether I'm going to cut it out. But I knew I wanted to maintain the white for the moons and go from there. It's okay. I'm happy with it. The colors are a little less intense than I had hoped, but pretty wet. So I'm sprinkling in some kosher salt to give me some effects as it soaks up water, and just to break up the areas, give me some more texture and some variation in tone. So I was working on another page, a little teaser of that you can see on the left. And I pulled out some Brusho watercolors. Now, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with these. They are like crystallized watercolors. And so you can see me now shaking them onto the page. They are going to act fabulous if I spray them with water. They also act fabulous if you put them on a page that has been wet, put down a wash of water. The colors are really, really intense, and I like that, but they're kind of transient. So they're not permanent once they're dry, and they can even kind of leave a color residue on the facing page of the spread. So if I use them pretty heavily, I put in a piece of wax paper or butcher paper to protect the pages. The thing I think I like the best about some of the colors, the black and the olive green especially, is that they kind of fragment out into the pigments that were used to make that color. So the olive green will go orange and blue as well as green. And they're really, really interesting, and they give you a lot of variation and intense color. I like to use them with kind of a randomness. So that's perfect for a background on what's going to be a simple kind of silhouette page. I did not mask off the moons, so I'm going to have some carryover of colors there, but let me kind of zoom in and show you what actually happens. If you watch the center right under the large moon, you're actually going to see the turquoise green kind of just like spread out, feather out, and grow. And it's the crystals kind of dissolving in the water. I think it shows up really well on the moon how drastic the change can be. But it also makes the page really wet. So I'm going to put on a little more kosher salt. Again, more effects, also some water absorption. So I'm back, and I deleted this audio so you can't hear the ASMR of me scraping all the salt off this page. But everything is totally dry, and I really think it makes a very kind of ephemeral landscape. I'm very happy with the results. And there's nothing better than a nice, tape peel. So the page is much more interesting to me now with the Brusho watercolors. They, like I said, they're not permanent. They will still get on you. And they kind of stain your hands as well. My hands look a little green. But anyway. So I decided I was going to cut this out. I have a cutting mat underneath and an X-Acto knife. And, here on the wolf body, it seems like a great idea. It's working very smoothly. Future Jenny can tell you how frustrating it was to try and cut out the detailed limbs of the tree and the curls of her hair. Regrets? Well, maybe. I'm happy with how it turned out in the end, but it was a lot more tedious than I hoped it would be as I dove into that. So I'm going to go ahead and speed this up, and then you can see the finished product when I put the two together in just a sec. So yeah, that last video clip was like 10 minutes long, and I sped it up 8 times speed, and that wasn't even all of the cutting out. That didn't include the hair. Yeah, next time, trace and ink. For the boons, I'm using some white acrylic ink, and like I said, these Brusho crystal watercolors aren't permanent once they're dry. So I am going to get a little blurring and smearing of the colors underneath when they mix with this white ink. That's great because then I don't get the flat white moon. I get some variation and some texture in that. So the white ink on the moons is still wet, and I'm too impatient to let it dry. So off to the left, slightly off camera, I'm putting some matte gel medium on the back of the cutout. Now, I would not advise this because it is a very, very fragile cutout and it was just printed on printer paper. So it starts to get wet, it starts to curl up, all these little fragile pieces, the paper gets soggy. Again, in hindsight, since this is future Jenny telling you this, yeah, not the easiest way to do things. Nope, definitely not the easiest way to do things. And the final touch is I'm going to go hit all the edges. You know, if it had been a less fragile cutout piece, then I could have done the edges of the paper before I affixed it onto this page. But it was just too fragile, so I wanted to go and kind of black ink, midnight blue ink, dark teal ink, like whatever was appropriate for the part of the page that I was working on. But I'm just trying to erase that white and have things be a more solid black. I do pull out a larger broad tip Posca black paint pen to do the bottom where there was some white of the original Xerox showing. Again, maybe on some days this would have been really zen, but today it was just a little bit tedious. Who knows? Who knows? I was maybe in the mood for something more gestural and expressive and splashy, which the background was, and the background was pretty satisfying. All in all, I'm happy with how it turned out. I would love to hear your comments. Have you ever worked with brush out watercolors? What are your thoughts? Uh, until next week, enjoy. Have a good week. I hope you get a chance to take it to the page, and may things flow smoothly and not be tedious for you.